California citizens, rolling hills of the bluegrass. Good morning. It's about 10 a.m. here on a wonderful Sunday morning. It's very pretty outside. I was helping my father, and I was doing my daily reconnaissance into the thoughts of all of these people, which basically means I was driving my car listening to NPR. And I heard a new phrase. And it's very funny because in the interview, they used the word tool, a new wrench, a new hammer, a new screwdriver in all of this. And you'll definitely hear more about it in the future because it is so useful to the proponents of the left. And it is the idea of discriminatory gaslighting. We've heard the term gaslighting. It's probably used more than just about anything right now. But the idea of people making you think you're crazy. To be very, I guess ableist is what they would call you. Mentally ableist. But basically, it's the device used to make you doubt yourself, to doubt your own sanity, your own reasoning capabilities. Well, now we have discriminatory gaslighting, in which a minority is gaslit for the purposes of keeping them under control. And I'm not going to mention the professor's name. You can find the interview yourself. It's very enlightening. And then if you go and you look at the professor's credentials, she's absolutely amazing. If you look at her credentials and you look at her efforts, and that's the thing, is that there's this problem. Is that I believe you never take away someone's work. For good or for bad, they did it. That's that whole individual, personal thing that you want to think about. Is that if you've got someone who is self-owning themselves, if they are in charge of their lives, you don't take away the things that they've done from them. That's theirs. For good or for bad. If you want to actually own yourself. And this professor is immaculate from what I saw in the bio that I read. And I have no doubt that all of it's true 100%. But you go down further into the bio and you run across a section talking about their efforts in critical race theory. Again, another hot button thing that's everywhere. Gaslighting, critical race theory. CRT. And then you see French. So French, critical race theory, discriminatory gaslighting. And I come back to an analogy I made in a comment that got a few thumbs up, and I think it's the one I'm going to stick with, is that these people, these thoughts are like really great defensive boxers. And I've made this point before, and I'll make it here again. There is always an angle for deflection. There is always an angle to counterpunch. There is no place in the ring where they will be able to slip out of everything. And there's part of me that is actually very impressed. Because that's the thing. You can be impressed by people who are your ideological opposites. Their capacities, their abilities to maneuver and to come up with new ideas. And this is the reason why we are always outstripped. And again, you have to remember when I say we, I mean pretty much anyone who is not a communist. Anyone. Right? Your delusional sock dem, all the way over to your warmongering Republicans and Democrats and our lost brothers and sisters over in whatever the national level Libertarian Party is. You have to sit back and realize that, like, God, would it be 90%? That seems high, but it's probably accurate. 90% of us, to those on the far left, are whatever, conservative Nazis or something. Even though we believe in personal liberty and freedom, we're all in this, blanket oppressor. And now you have the capacity for black people to have, what was they talking about? Brownness, right? You had whiteness, and now you have brownness. Because you're not black, you're not dark enough. You're talking about shades of skin color. It is a complete refutation of Martin Luther King and the early civil rights. 100%. These people refute everything that Martin Luther King stood for in the beginning. In the end, we can discuss that. But in the beginning, it was 100% that we have got to get over this concept of skin color being the determination of people's lives. But that is a destruction of a power base. If you take away the importance of people's skin color, then you take away a position that you can stand on. Because then people have to then be judged by their merit, their work, the thing you can't take away from them. Because it's theirs, because they put in the time and the effort to do it. Well, that right there is untenable, because everyone can do those kinds of things. But not everyone can be black. Not everyone can be Asian. Not everyone can be white. But everyone can think. Everyone can take the time to sit down, to read, to come up with their own theories and their own ideas. Everyone can do that. Now, modern life, and I would in some respects be a little obfuscating, one of my favorite words, if I didn't say that I believe that was kind of part of the point. Keep people panicked and scared, naked and afraid, and they will follow you. Keep them paranoid and tell them that you are the bastion of hope and reason, and that they should come to you. That's the reason why there's all of these religious cult parallels drawn to this thing that is occurring. And you look at this professor's credentials and you go, French. Why does that sound familiar? Ah, yes. Yet again, they come back. It's like the Eagles on tour, the postmodernists, they come back and, okay, well, the more French stuff. Then you see that this professor's whole catalog of achievements is based in this French idea. Well, where is this coming from? Well, the professor's biracial, and Haiti plays a massive part. You wouldn't imagine the power that the narrative of Haiti has on these people, and it's great, it's wonderful. Haiti threw off the French and said, no, we're our own independent free people, and I can get behind that. I'm with it 100%. Go Haiti, be free. Except then you turned around and you decided, okay, well, we're not going to have a French dictator, we will have one of our own, and at least we'll have that. At least this dictator is ours. At least these corrupt people are ours, and they're not someone else's. And it's like, what are you doing? And that's why Haiti is in such a mess, has been in such a mess. I remember, in the 90s when I was a kid, you always heard about the horrible things happening in Port-au-Prince and what was his name? Doc. This is the reason why I should probably script these things out, because my brain doesn't work so good sometimes. But that Haitian president who was, just basically a dictator. Okay, a Haitian dictator. But they latch onto that revolutionary fury that was the Haitian Revolution. And again, French. What are you... Come on, French people. Right? You like your wine, your cheese, all of the other stereotypes, that kind of stuff. You love to live. Why you got to do this to the world? Why you got to do this to us all? I don't know. It reminds me of that. I've said this before. It reminds me of that Robin Williams skit from one of his big stand-up things that he did later in his life, early 2000s. And he has that section about the French people and they're smoking their cigarettes, and he'd give a cigarette to a baby. And it's like, life is shit. This is all that matters. And they put the cigarette to the baby's face, give it a thing of wine. Why French people? Why is this what you give the world? You were the titans for so long. And then it's like World War I just absolutely sapped you of everything. And you give us these destroyers. These dividers, and we end up, and I know all of these. My videos lately have just been, absolutely dismal in their outlook on things. But I don't know what else to be at this point. I want to be hopeful. I really do. I had the one video where I have this black pill. Well, if you can imagine that the black pill was in a bottle on the shelf and I was just staring at it. That was me a month ago. Now the pill is out of the bottle in my hand and it's down by my side. That might have been 2 weeks ago. Right now, I'm staring at the pill in the palm of my hand going, you're going to have to take this. Because it's everywhere. And is it going to change? Are people going to finally say no? And I'm not saying no with your fists. I'm saying no with your voice. Are people actually going to get out and say things that matter and push back on all of this? I don't think so. We've got a FDR level of buy-offs going right now. In a point of crisis, right? Never let a good crisis go to waste. He wasn't the first person to say it, and he's not the last, and he's not the first person to jump on the idea. Because you use a crisis to your benefit. Right now, we're in the middle of a crisis, whether or not we really feel like it, or whether or not it even really is a crisis. You've got that going on. My apologies. So it's very interesting because this is where Noam Chomsky's manufacturing consent kind of comes in, right? Chomsky's whole deal was manufacturing consent against the right, an accusation of what the right was doing. Well, that was taken as, oh, well, this is a really good play. I mean, it's a game. If there is anything that's really going on, it is a game. right? We're in applied game theory right now. And every time an intellectual steps up, that's one more piece, one more play, one more trick, one more little, flip of the club, of the ball, stroke of the bat, everything, or stroke of the club, swing of the bat, everything is now looked at as, okay, how can I use this in order to forward my purpose, my ideals? And it might be because we're able to focus on it more, those that can, and go, okay, well, I see where this is a tool. This is a tool now used, like this tool. Even in the interview, the professor frames it as a tool to dismantle. I used the word, I used dismantle in the word in the video yesterday. Dismantle, break down, tear at the edges. Don't go for the center. Eat away at the outside. Push, lean, apply pressure. Always on the offensive. Get them rolling. Get them moving in the direction that you want. It effectively, it feels like we're in a herd. Isn't that strange? That we want herd immunity, and we want the herd to go in certain directions. Remember the bellwether? I've said this before again. What is the bellwether? The bellwether is the sheep that you tie the bell to so that the other sheep know who to follow, so that you know where the head of the lead sheep is at the herd. We're being led 100%, and you've got to realize it. The non-choir, you've got to realize it. You've got to get your heads out of your phones. Which is funny because a lot of you might be listening to this on your phone, or that's attached to your radio in your car if you even listen to it. But I'm not talking about getting your heads out of your phones where the information is. I mean, getting off the front page of Google and going, ooh, that's how you make pork chops. And getting off of the front page of TikTok and going, that's a really funny cat. Get off of that stuff. Because real life is flying past you and is hurtling into your children. The whole thing with the virus that occurred. We had freedom for our children for a month, maybe. And then people were like, we need to get these kids back in school. No! The future was free for the first time since all of this Prussian BS came into the United States in the 1800s. And we rushed to throw them back in. And when we threw them back in, the sharks were in the water, waiting for the children. With the 1619 Project and critical race theory. Turn your children against their classmates. Make whites and blacks hate one another. It's diabolical and perfectly timed. Was it intentional? Is it a conspiracy? I don't think so. But I think people saw an opportunity. Because there's nothing illegal with it. It might be manipulative. It might be damning. But there's nothing illegal about it. Could it be immoral? Most definitely. Could it be used as a tool to actually point some things out? Most definitely. But is it being used as a tool to manipulate people? To gaslight people? It's like counter-gaslighting? Absolutely. You make me feel like I don't know what I'm thinking about. Well, I'm going to make you feel like you don't know what you're thinking about. It sounds so dour and so absolutely out of my mind about these kinds of things. I don't read enough. I've got piles of books around me, and I still feel like I'm not even scratching the surface of all of this. And then one 5-minute interview on NPR adds one more thing that people are not going to research, that people are not themselves going to sit down and think, because they've got to pay a mortgage, because they've got to keep the lights on. They have braces that they need to get for their children, and those children need to get to soccer practice. Those children have Zoom calls that they've got to get on. There is not enough time in the day for an average American. Don't care about the stupid skin color. And stupid, I'm being flippant by calling it stupid, but I don't care, because everyone's got something to do except listen to this stuff. Unless you're the next generation sitting in a college class and your grade depends on it. You're the ones who have the time to listen to this. So, good luck. Because if you push back, as we've seen, if you push back, you're going to be called a bigot. You're going to be called... There's a funny little group of people who watch videos on the YouTubes, the other website. And their greeting to one another is, "Hello, fellow bigots." "Hello, bigot. How are you today, bigot?" And it's funny. It's hilarious. And the reason why is because they're doing the very thing that black people did in order to get back at the system that oppresses them. It's hilarious that we do this, because that's what man is. "What's up, man? How you doing? Doing all right, man?" "Doing good. I'm doing good. You doing good, man?" "All right." What was that? That was in response to being called boy, which I find absolutely amazing that that's being allowed to happen, because you hear that all the time. "What are you doing, boy? What are you doing? Where do you think you're going, boy? What are you doing now, boy?" It's everywhere. And it's like, we don't even know. We don't even know. There's a, what is it? And the battle in heaven raged. As the people looked on and wondered what they were fighting up there. Is it angels and demons? No. Maybe. Anything's possible nowadays. Are they evil? I don't want to think that they are. But there's a possibility. It's very possible.